front. I want to ask you a question. Who's coaching you? Who's asking you the tough questions? Who's telling you, man, you're the common denominator to all of your issues and challenges? Who's telling you, man, all day long you become the magnetic pulse that attracts to you both good and bad? I want to be your life coach. I want to be the one that cheers you on to the finish line. I want to be the one that you ask the tough questions. And it doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but that means that you have a partner, someone who believes in you, not the you see right now, but the you can't imagine, the you that you are to become, the you were destined to be. I always say we both need the positive and the negative. It's not enough to have the knowledge of the matter, but we must have the wisdom as well. For wisdom settles it. And that's what I want to offer you as you join me on the Coach's Corner. I want to offer you the wisdom of the matter. Maybe it might be relationships, talking about our campaigns for more, for life, the dark room for our subconscious, our spiritual journey, whatever it is. I want to be there to encourage you, to build you, to challenge you, to cheer you on to the finish line. I'm qualified to do this. Why? Because I'm you.
Thank you so very much for joining us right here on the Coach's Corner on SIBN Radio. My name is Marcus Salette. As I approach the microphone on today, I admit that I still have my personal and professional challenges, but I like to think that I'm bringing to the microphone the wisdoms of the matter, and I hope I can earn the right to speak into your life. Today, briefly, we're going to talk about, does the school life of our children resemble prison life? And I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to all of those of you that listen to SIBN Radio and watch SIBN Television wherever we are broadcasting online worldwide in real time, live and or on demand. And I would say thank you to my followers right there on Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram. Thank you so very much for following us. The name to follow is S as in Sam, A as in Apple, L as in Laugh, E-T-T-E, USA TV. Salette, USA TV, S-A-L-E-T-T-E, USA TV. Thank you so much for those of you that are joining us right there at the registry, media registry site, www. We support Salette USA TV. And those of you that have been listening by way of the website, www.415-96radio.com. Gentlemen, ladies, let's get to work. I'm advocating that we keep a close watch on our school system right now because there is more going on than meets the eye. And as you would imagine, in this technological age, in this age of litigation and arbitration and so forth and so on, we are not necessarily given a even playing field because the school system, in my view, is given more power than we have questioned along the years. And my question today is, does school life resemble prison life? It seems to me that the school system, this is just my estimation, you can email me if you think differently, and I would expect that many of you that are listening would think differently, but to me, on the east side of Atlanta is what I'm speaking for. It just seems to me that we have too many guidelines or rules. We have the rule book, the student handbook, as I've said before in the past, is filled with what you cannot do. And children, even in the news here recently, have been bringing play guns, for example, to school, like some kind of extravagant show and tell. And I hate it when I hear in the news that, the school system takes this seriously. He's talking about elementary students right now. And so does that mean that child... Well, first I heard a report. Let me just back up. First I heard a report that a white child brought a play gun. I heard this last year or the year or two before, and I heard it again this year. The white student brought a BB gun or some sort of play gun to school. And then they explained it away. Well, he accidentally had it in his bag, and so there will be minimum consequences. And then I heard it again of another story this year where a child brought a play gun to school. This was a white child initially, but then the follow-up was some other children brought some guns. So it's interesting that we give a pass to white students, but we make sure we hold the line for black students. I'm calling a spade a spade. I mean, if you're going to have rules, they ought to apply across the board. A white student that lives in the country should not be given a pass because the quote-unquote defense is he or the parents or he didn't know that the play gun was in his book bag, or he was playing with his father and he had put it in his book bag and had forgotten. But yet when we find a infraction for a black child, we hold the line. The full weight of the law is given. I need some help. The full weight of the rules and disciplinary procedures are carried out. But now, here lately in the news, there has been several children that have brought play guns in the school. I want to predict to you that we're due for another school tragedy. Why are we due for another school tragedy? Because it just seems like to me that school life is resembling prison life. I say that because of the food, the nutritional value. I say that because of the bullying factor. I say that because we have more rules than we have mission and objectives that are printed for parents to go over with their children. I mean, you've seen the student handbook lately. I say that because when you are up against the system for an infraction that you are accused of, you have no rights. You have no say. Oh, you can say something, but it's not going to have a difference of an effect unless you're white, or unless you have some money, or unless you know somebody in the system that can weave you in and out. And of course, by all means, if it hits the news more times than not, it's too late. I'm just curious to ask whether we as parents are really paying attention to the details here. We send our children to school for an education, both black and white, both urban and suburban, both the outskirts of suburban and in the country. But yet we find preferences yet still given to students of a lighter color, particularly Caucasian students. That's number one. Number two, we find that systems are never self-corrected for error. I was looking at a report, the 151 report given by Rachel Maddow in MSNBC regarding the FBI. And in this report, it outlined, or it's a report that's due to come out, another report due to come out soon about a shooting in Florida. But I was looking at this report, and it talked about the FBI shootings and killings. 151 meant 151 killings that the FBI had under review to see whether or not error in judgment or otherwise was committed, or even a crime committed by the FBI. And Rachel Maddow explained that how is it that 151 times the FBI, who investigates their own misjudgments, characterize the 151 or the 151 killings as justifiable killings. And I want to suggest to you, without boring you with a bunch of facts, without boring you with a bunch of legal jargon, you can tune into my show SIB in Atlanta for all that. I want to suggest to you that the school system is around the same caliber. Or am I supposed to be intimidated because we have a bunch of professionals and paraprofessionals who have degrees from varying high profile and low profile schools? Are we supposed to be as parents intimidated because you guys have such a large system such as your school system that we can never feel that we can challenge whether the truth of an administrator or teacher is accurate? Am I supposed to be intimidated because your school has so many accolades and you can never be wrong? We are headed toward the same system that our kids find themselves in, who are in our impoverished communities, and kids who have lesser opportunities, and kids that are caught up in crime and on the track of criminal behavior find themselves. I mean, the balance is about the same. It's a shame when you walk into a school, in many cases both black and white, the system never can admit its own mistakes until it's too late. I say that we're due for another school tragedy because America's schools is not preparing, in my view, students for life, but they're preparing students for prison life. When you see that there's nothing but a list of do's and don'ts, when you see that the nutritional value is less than cordial, less than, when you see that bullying is a factor, when you see that kids are able to smoke drugs and take drugs in the bathroom, when you see that particular leaders in the school are getting children drunk, I'm talking about student leaders, and they're able to get away with it because their parent or their cousin or their grandma or their grandfather works for the school system. When you see that bus drivers are able to scream at kids and yell at them and treat them like cattle. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on. But I just wanted to stop by to forewarn you that you need to take a second look at what your child is going through at their school system. And no wonder socialization, particularly among African American kids, is so high, because that's the only pleasure that they can engage in to bypass the aggravation that they feel in a system that is completely hostile against the support of parents. They can say what they want to. And that's why so many parents opt out. It's bad, and one evil doesn't justify another. But a lot of people opt out because they already know how the system works. They already know that they're up against the wall. They already know that administrators are always right. They already know that any infraction brings down the harshest penalty if you're African American. And so they opt out. And I'm not advocating that you as parents should opt out. Matter of fact, I think you should opt back in. Because the school now holds the power to change your child's future. Now, let's say you're an involved parent and you're right there on the scene. Let me ask you another question. What is it about those parents who are involved that we catch more hell from the school system than the ones who are not involved? Are the administrators and are the parents psychologically and subconsciously taking their frustrations out on who they can catch? I need some help. And just because you can get on the phone and reach my child after an incident has happened, that now my child bears the brunt of punishment for the children that you have not been able to catch for the last 3 to 6 months. I'm just saying. As I've said on another show, Trayvon Martin had his father involved. Say what you want about Trayvon Martin, but his dad was there. But the statistics show that African American men are not involved. Wait a minute. Trayvon Martin's father was there. Trayvon Martin is dead. Jordan Davis's father was involved. Jordan Davis is dead. What is it about parents who are involved in their children's life having to fight with these systems that can never admit when they're wrong, that can never take a back seat and realize that everything a child says in a school disciplinary situation and everything that a child signs in a school disciplinary procedure is not accurate, and that these children do not know, neither do some of the parents understand, the weight and the gravity of the consequences that in some cases children are coerced and pressured to admit, I submit to you, if you're listening to this show, that your child have no rights at your school. I submit to you that. The only right that they have is not the rights that the Constitution affords them, but the rights that the school deems is necessary for the day of the disciplinary procedure in question. I am challenging you to take a second look at the educational system that your tax dollars is affording this foolishness. I am asking you to take a second look at your parenting skills and to ensure that you're not so much into being in control of things or so much into not caring about things that your child could be on his or her way to prison or life in the ghetto. And when I say the ghetto, I don't mean talking about a place. I'm talking about in the mind. I'm talking about in the mind. Now, I know that all schools are not under this blanket. But it just seems to me that our integrated schools, I did say that, schools where it used to be all white, now integrated with 70-30%, seem like we're taking a nosedive without a Mayday call. Perfect example of all of this is the APS school scandal. Perfect example of all of this is the multiplicity of teachers and administrators who conspired to ensure that federal dollars remain in the school system, to ensure that teachers and administrators got bonuses, to falsify the test scores of a multiplicity of students. Oh, now we believe that a teacher can be wrong. Now we accept that an administrator can be in error. But look at who suffers. The student suffers again. You want to talk about a double-barrel shotgun of insult and injury to taxpayers? It is when students have no rights except that which the school deems necessary. Oh, we know they have a right to learn. We know they have a right to learn and get an education, right? Wrong. What is learning? When was the last time your school taught your child based on your child's learning style? Google that. Google your child's age and find out the developmental characteristics of your child. And then Google learning styles and read, there's about 4 or 5 of them, maybe 6. Read and find out which one of those fit my child. And then ask yourself the question, for the money that I'm paying in taxes to send my kid to a public school, and I am talking about public schools in this whole show, are they catering to my child in any class, in any light, in any elective? Are they catering or are they enhancing my child's learning style? I want to challenge you that it may be less than 20% of challenge to your child's learning style, let alone your child's learning ability. That's a whole nother question. That's a whole nother show. I think public school life is resembling prison every day because you know that prison, the fight, the advocacy, the lobbying for prison is for it to be privatized. And actually, it has gone private. In other words, McDonald's, Walmart, some of your most favorite companies are in the business of building prisons. They can look at the 3rd and 4th grade reading scores and detect and predict which children in which geographical zip code will be most likely, based on his demographics, to fill the prison walls, the juvenile detention walls, and the prison walls based on the stats that seem to never change. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to challenge you as a parent. Now, when you laid down with your partner, whether you were married or not, whether you were young or old, whether you were mature or immature, maybe you planned to have a child, maybe you didn't. But it's too late now. Once you have a child, you have the responsibility, the awesome unadulterated responsibility of parenting this child. And it is also involved with fighting that your child respects and honors authority, but also fighting to also ensure that your child's rights and your child's dignity is not violated in the name of corporate safety or in the name of corporate education. You know, we love to say, well, all of our students have to have a access to a environment of peace and tranquility in order for our teachers to be able to proceed ahead and disperse respectively all of the things necessary for a child to learn. But yet we see other problems with that. We got a new commercial that is airing now on television about the core educational presentation. We've got several issues with testings and what that means for a lot of students and parents based on their ability and also learning styles. So I'm just bringing a wake-up call. To me, public school life is resembling, in a general sense, prison life. If you study the privatization of prison life, if you study the companies who are involved in building prisons, if you study the trends of how they can calculate and predict who will be in the prisons based on their demographics and zip code, and even based on the last four of their social security number, you might find it surprising that when you look at the child's totality school experience, or the school experience in totality, you will find the resemblance of prison life. Do what we say when we say it, and any defense that you have for any incident that occurs holds no water with us because you are under our jurisdiction. I got to go to commercial break and come back, close out. This is the coach.
The number one show on Saudi television and radio, the Coach's Corner's Daily Show, now airing at www.415-96radio.com for hardcore motivation and daily inspiration. Tune in. That's www.415-96radio. That's www.415-96radio.com. Responsible, accountable. Who taught you that? My daddy taught me that. That's right, the new book all the way from Asheville, North Carolina, representing the legacy of Benny Lake is Keenan Lake, the author of My Daddy Taught Me That, the book and the program for young men in Asheville, North Carolina and throughout the region. Tune in to the program, the project, and the book at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. For more information, email lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com or call 828-582-2261. That's 828-582-2261. mydaddytaughtmethat.com.
No matter the pain, we still gotta go on, cause this is the game. I said no matter the hard time, no matter the pain, we still gotta move on. We can do it.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Coach's Corner. I've been talking about school life resemble prison life. If you understand the dynamics of privatizing prisons, you'll know that the predictability of those who will fill those prisons is the patterns of those predictions are well underway. The studies have already been sealed. They already know who's going to fill those prisons based on demographics, based on zip code, the last four of your social, based on family history, community fragmentation, and on and on and on and on it goes. It just seems to me that if you give a child a bunch of rules, you already know they're going to break them. So we have to counter the child's psychology in their development and give them fewer rules and more guidelines. And we need to be a little bit more tolerant of those who find themselves in neutral or gray areas and not lump kids like freaking cattle or prisoners together in one or two categories. I am absolutely outraged that my tax dollars is fueling this foolishness. And I want you to take a second look at your child's experience at school. Now, while you may think that everything is rosy, children don't always talk about certain things because of how we as parents react. So we, even as parents, have to be more strategic and being more calm and having an element or giving a greater element of trust to our children that what they say to us is held in confidence if need be. And also what they say to us is something that we'll take to heart and take seriously. But that's how bullying got out of hand. To me, bullying got out of hand because administrators put certain rules in place that said you could not fight, and if you got caught in a fight, it didn't even matter whose fault it was. You were suspended. And so that word got out, and of course some parents who don't have any kind of sense at all gave their children a pass at what they say and do, and some parents exemplify bullying tactics, and so you get this rise in bullying because no one can fight anymore without having severe consequences. And I'm not advocating for fighting, but fighting is a normal process of adolescence, for the love of goodness. Now the child knows, well, I can get suspended, but I can't get suspended for calling the child fat, ugly. I can't get suspended for calling the child by a racist name because how can they prove it? How can they catch me? That's just my, And then we have bullying because that's what our schools are doing to our parents. When you set a bunch of rules in place and you think your word is God and the last word in the name of education, and you expect educated parents to buy this? You expect educated parents whose taxes on their homes are going up instead of down to buy this foolishness? Are you out of your mind? Boy, we're supposed to be intimidated because it's a large public school system, and so we can't. So I got some things that I'm going to be submitting to the ACLU. I got some things I'm going to be submitting to the NAACP. Some things have run across my desk. I got some things that I'm going to be advocating on SIB in Atlanta. As you know, we've been talking about disciplinary procedures, how to handle that. If you want to join on my show, it's every Monday. Right now, we're trying out a new time slot, Mondays at 7:30 p.m., 8 is about, I want to say 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. You can call in and for more information, follow me on Twitter for that. But what I'm saying to you is this. We got some monsters in the room that nobody's talking about. Did you know, as I've said before, that your child doesn't have the knowledge, or parents don't have the knowledge of whether or not their child can exercise the 4th and 5th Amendment constitutional right in a disciplinary proceeding? This alone is troubling. One right deals with search and seizure, and the other right deals with the right to remain silent and invoke, that right, respectively. Children don't understand that, so they're going into these offices, they're being called into these offices, and they're called to confess or they admit, and whatever the case may be, sign. This whole situation is like prison, dude. Come on. I worked in Cleveland, Ohio, to give you some perspective as I come to a close. I worked in Cleveland, Ohio, under the Lutheran Metro Ministries in Cleveland, Ohio. It wasn't a church or anything. It was a metro ministry to the metro community. And I worked with both community and youth reentry. And the community reentry focused on those young men coming out of the prison system, re-inaugurating them back into the community. And the youth reentry system did the same from juvenile justice back into the community. And I have to do it in another show because my time is gone. But I would love to tell you how we looked at that as a community. and how we partner on both federal and state levels and with local schools and law enforcement and even with juvenile justice as well as the Justice Center there in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, to work to ensure that we had a close-knit partnership to ensure that the rate of recidivism was kept at a minimum. But the way things are looking regarding our school system, I hate to admit to you that we're preparing for a rise in recidivism. We're preparing for a rise in crime. We're preparing for we're expecting the worst of the kids. And when you hand me a handbook that has nothing but rules in it, and my child has no defense but your word against his word, I gotta go. Follow me on Twitter if you can. I double triple dare you to follow me on Twitter so you can keep up with this. If you're a parent, wake up. Some things are going on that you may not know about. This coach.
No matter the hard time, no matter the pain, we still gotta go on, cause this is the game. I said no matter the hard time, no matter the pain, we still gotta move on.